family and the love of our family is a way that everybody is kind of connected, no matter what your beliefs, your background, anything like that. We're all connected in the way that we have a family that we love, and we also deal with the loss. You know, it goes way, way deeper than the surface stuff. Me, myself, I've been lucky in a way that I haven't dealt with as much loss as some others have. My grandpa Johnny, on my father's side, he passed away young. He was 43 when he died suddenly in 1965. But when I was born, I had 3 grandparents that were still with me in 1977. And I had all 3 of those until 2009 when my Nana passed away on my dad's side. So I had 32 years where I really didn't experience any sort of loss. And that's a blessing and a curse, because you go through all that time, and even though, you know, you've seen other people lose family members, you start thinking, wow, not maybe it won't happen to me, but you're not prepared for it because you haven't dealt with it. And then you start dealing with it later in life, and you know that eventually these losses come and they're going to pile up. And that's kind of what it's felt like the last 11, 12 years now. The only solace you get from losing family later on in life is that you've had a chance to build a lot of memories, and so you have those to fall back on. I was lucky that I have thousands of memories of all of my grandparents, so even though they're gone now, I still have those. It's funny because thinking about it, I don't know if it would be better or worse if I had lost my grandparents as a little kid and just not having those memories, but then also not having the attachment to them, not feeling that loss as much, I guess, because you just didn't have the time with them. For me, it's like great-grandparents. I had great-grandparents that passed before I was 10 years old, and I don't feel that attachment to them because there were very few memories I have of them. But my Nina, Rosemarie Sullivan, passed away, I said, March 23rd at the age of 92. She had been trending downward. Once my grandfather died in May of 2019, they had been married 73 years. She met him when she was 15. I was 15. I was a freshman in high school. So I couldn't imagine being with the same person from freshman year of high school until I was about 90 years old. That just doesn't happen these days. And whereas my grandpa, his mind went because of Alzheimer's at the end, but his body stayed. With my Nina, it was her body that went, but her mind stayed right up until the end. They really were a perfect match. And with my Nina and Grandpa, it was sad and it was tough to see them at the end like that, but it was something that I owed to them for all of the decades of great memories and great times with them, that I owed them being there at the end. But that being said, I do not want to remember those last several months with my Nina, or especially with my Grandpa. I'd rather now focus on the good times, and that's what I want to do here with my Nina. I said I was going to make this a celebration of life, and that's what I'm going to do. So the first thing we got to do, when I think of my Nina and Grandpa, I think of one thing to start, and that's jazz music. So I wanted to have this as a little bit of background noise for a little bit of this. I can remember my Nina coming to take me and my sister Kate out for Sunday shopping and lunch in her Oldsmobile Tornado. It was kind of like a Cadillac, but not. And this song was perfect because it's got the beat. I can see in my head my Nina playing the steering wheel with her long fingernails and kind of tapping to the drum beat. So that's why I chose this to play in the background. And those drives, we would take Route 6A on Cape Cod is like our big historic road. There are just dozens and dozens of homes that are from 250 years ago lining this street. And we would go through Yarmouthport. And I can remember my Nina telling me to look out for tiger lilies because she was allergic to them and she'd need to roll the windows up when she went past them. So the irony is that now tiger lilies remind me of my Nina. And you know, grandparents spoil their grandkids. So Nina, she would spoil us. Buy us toys at KB Toy Store in the Cape Cod Mall. Take us to Friendly's. She'd have these games, these water games on her deck at the house where they lived for 20 years. And I was researching them so I could tell you guys about what they really were. And I've been finding, I think they were called waterfuls. If you go on Amazon, these games that you'd fill with water, and it was You push a button and the air would push these little balls and they would go into the little hoops, basically. That's what they had, a bunch of them on the deck, and we'd sit out there in the sun and play these games. And my Nina had a bunch of cats and the little terriers, the Scotty dogs. At one point, she had 3 of the white ones. It was Tina, Jimmy, and Nikki. And Jimmy would shake like he was just afraid of people. It was almost like he was a robot dog that you put on vibrate. And being an Italian grandmother, my Nina always wanted us to eat. There's so many old pictures of us eating in the dining room there. I remember the anisette toast, Stella d'Oro. I actually went and bought some. I hadn't had that probably since I was a kid, just to have those memories back. You've got photos, you've got the foods you remember that can bring back the memories. So it's like someone's gone, but they're not gone. That was kind of a coping mechanism right after my Nina died. Me, my siblings, some of my cousins. It was like a parade of old photos we were sharing with each other to kind of go back and bathe ourselves in those feelings. But my Nina, she was the glue of the family. My grandpa was this larger-than-life character, and he's going to get an episode of the podcast coming up later on. But while he was out running the donut shop that he owned in Hyannis and just being like the mayor, everyone knew Sully and a jazz singer. Nina was the one that held the family together to allow him to go and do that. And that's what made them a perfect pair. But she was hardly a housewife. I mean, she was at the forefront of the women's fitness revolution, late 60s, early 70s. You've got to go and look up. Gloria Stevens was kind of a franchise that started it. There was Curves, came later. But my Nina, Rosemarie, she was the head of the Gloria Stevens, the first one on Cape Cod in Hyannis. She was this little Italian lady, but she was just fire and toughness and class. And when I was a kid, she always reminded me of Tina Turner. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it was she liked the high heels. Maybe it was just she had the strong legs. Maybe it was that she had the kind of, not poofy hair, but that sort of hair like that. That's what I always thought of, was my Nina was like Tina Turner. And even in the later years, even at the end, the last few months, she didn't lose that fire. I remember we were doing Zoom calls a couple times a week, and I was on there with one with my Aunt Kelly, and I'm not sure if it was my sister Lindsay or not, but we were getting near the end of the allotted time, and I'll remember my Nina just said, "Kelly?" And she just said, "What?" And she slowly lifted 2 middle fingers up to her. And my aunt was like, "What did I do?" And I just thought that was just the funniest thing. And then it was near the end, we were about to sign off, and my Nina just said, "This was a lovely visit." And that kind of was fitting. That was just who she was. She loved her family. She was very proud of her family. Even the times that I didn't feel that I was doing enough with my life, she was always proud of me and thought I was great. Yeah, it might be grandparents just saying that, but it would help me through times when I had a crisis of confidence. I would say, my Nina and Grandpa think I'm great, so I must be doing something right. And I think that's the same for anyone with their family. The family's confidence and love for them can sometimes help them through tough times. I remember one of her favorite stories to tell me, because I don't remember because I think I was 3 years old at the time, was a time that the family, a bunch of us went to a Chinese restaurant and they brought us fortune cookies at the end of the meal, and someone opened their fortune cookie and a cockroach came out and started scurrying across the table, and I started screaming, "Nina, look at the bug, look at the bug." Everyone turned and looked, and Nina's trying to get me to be quiet, but I'm 3 years old and I'm seeing this thing out on the table, and the waiter at the Chinese restaurant came running over and said, no bug, no bug. And it's just, she tells that story with such joy and laughter. It's weird to talk about my Nina in the past tense now, and all my grandparents in the past tense. It's like tying a bow on a chapter of my life that lasted a lot longer than a lot of people get. I don't know about you, like when you lost your last grandparent, but for me to be 43 years old and to say I just lost my Nina and my last grandparent, that's something I think a lot of people don't get. A lot of people lose their grandparents young. A lot of them lose them before they're born. A lot of people deal with a lot more family tragedy and loss than I have dealt with. And growing up, I don't know if I appreciated it as much as I do now, how blessed I was to have a large family, but to have them all and to have most of them still around is a blessing that I don't think I appreciated in my teens and 20s, but I definitely do now as other people, as friends, start to lose parents now. I've got friends of mine that have lost their parents recently. So when all's said and done, I'm very lucky and blessed to have who I have. And that's one thing I'm trying to share these stories and memories of my Nina, but also trying to tell folks, and you know it, to enjoy who you have when you have them, because once they're gone, that's it. Then all you've got is things like this, sharing memories on a podcast. And sure, eventually it's going to be like that for everyone, where all you're going to have left is the memories. But you make as many as you can when you can and make the time for them when you can. I was lucky that even when they were in their 80s, I was over there to see my grandparents as often as I could, just hanging out with them, just chatting. And my Nina, late 80s, and she's still like, we need to make you something to eat. And I'm just like, no, all I want to do is spend time with you. But she wouldn't hear of that. Even in her later years, she was still that same fiery, tough Italian grandmother that I remember as a child. I guess I kind of always felt like a kid still, as long as I had a grandparent still alive, if that makes sense. When you're a kid, it seems like all the time, all you want to do is be old enough to do what you want and to grow up. And now here I am looking back so fondly on those days when I was a kid, when everything was kind of laid out for you. Not that you could do whatever you wanted, but you had no responsibilities. You didn't have to worry about work. I mean, you had school, but whatever. And you could go do sleepovers. You could go visit your grandparents. The holidays were taken care of. Everyone bought you stuff. You didn't have to worry about getting gifts for others and feeling bad if you didn't. I mean, my Nina had a bookshelf full of old VHS tapes that I would watch when I was there. And she had Godzilla movies. She had Three Stooges videos. There's no way my Nina watched those. She got them from me. That's the thing that about grandparents, about family like that. When they go out of their way to do stuff to make you feel good, you feel comfortable and special, that's the kind of thing that I want to end with. And it's all right to feel bad, even though my Nina was 92 and she's definitely in a better place with my grandpa now. I can still feel selfish and sad and wish that they all were still here. But my Nina was a special lady, and that's apparent to everyone that knew her, and especially the family that loved her and was there with her through so many years. I love you, Nina, and I'll definitely see you again in a far better place than this. And I appreciate all of you listening to a little bit of my celebration of life of my Nina, and I hope it brought back good memories for you of whoever you've lost in your life and your family, because that's what I wanted this to be. We're all connected in that way. We've all lost loved ones, and the people are never gone as long as we hold those memories dear to us.